Hey guys, I'm over here realizing it's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday, and that's when I want to have the video up, but I haven't made the video yet. And so this week will be more of an art status update. Since I haven't really worked on one thing, I've been working on some different things. One thing I did yesterday as reward for finishing my math homework is that I finished sewing up my acrylic paper sketchbook. I found this mostly unused pad of acrylic paper by Canson XL in my room, and I realized this would be a great sketchbook. I could get into acrylic painting a little more, just having some place to practice landscapes or some other bright, colorful paintings, I was really interested to see if gouache would work out. And I actually just did a test page. I didn't record it because I'm trying to transfer some files from my iPhone, and the gouache works out pretty well. That being said, I've only done like 2 layers of black and white, and with gouache, if you do it too thick, it'll start to crack. And so that's kind of something to experiment around with. Again, sketchbook, it's kind of like my prototype. It's my guinea pig. It's the first sketchbook I've ever stitched. It's my first bookbinding experience, and it definitely shows. There's one area where I accidentally ripped through the paper, so you can see that, and then there's one where it got tangled and I pulled too tight and I ripped the thread, so I kind of had to work some magic there. I've knitted before, so when it comes to dealing with thread and string, I used to do a lot of macrame and knitting, and so I have experience with that. And I tend to have a tight pull when it comes to that kind of thing, so thread breaking on me was very common and very nice. Anyways, moving on, I have the acrylic sketchbook done that I'm really excited about as just a really free-for-all, especially since I want to test out some ideas for my friend's painting, since it's a 20 by 30 inch canvas, and when it comes to something that big, I should do some planning and prototypes. But what I've also been working on is my friend, last year actually, around November, asked if I wanted to do a design for her. And she showed me the reference pictures, and I was really interested in the ideas. But last semester I was super busy, so I wasn't able to get that much headway on it. But this semester I'm only taking 3 classes, and so it's been a much better time for me in terms of art making. Very, very well put there. But I've made a lot of headway on this elephant and moon design that she's wanted, and I'm actually really excited to see how it's finished, especially since I'm drawing it on Procreate with my iPad, and Procreate records the time you spent on it, and it records video of every stroke you made. And so I'm actually watching through it right now, and there's a bunch of crazy stuff, and then there's some where there's I focus on one area, and it's kind of just interesting to see all the work I've put in, every single stroke and layer change, just kind of zoom by in a matter of a little over 4 minutes at this point. And I also have in other files the other sketches and the planning for this design, and so when this piece is finished and I make the full video for this elephant and moon, it'll be nice to look back and see how I approach the planning and how I could organize this workspace later, especially since Procreate 4, I believe, has a lot better of a folder structure and project management system. So that's really cool. This design is also a big opportunity for me to really get comfortable with digital inking, because I really like inking, and traditional inking, there's such a nice texture. You really get a feel for the paper you're working on, especially with if you're using a fine liner or a brush. It's little things about the paper and the ink you're using that you have to pay attention to, and it's great. Now with digital, there's the whole Control-Z thing, and there's also this is also an opportunity for me to consider digital art as digital art in terms of having layers and being able to group those layers and rearrange them and change the color. And so at one point I started doing the elephant cross hatching in a blue ink, so that way I could differentiate between the moon and the elephant, and then I kind of decided that's kind of silly. I didn't really need to do that. And then another thing is that with cross hatching, I could be a lot faster with it. I usually do stippling because I feel like you can be pretty fast with stippling but still precise because it's just a bunch of little dots and the effect is really nice. But with cross hatching, you kind of have to have more of a control, and like you really have to have a good stroke, and you have to be able to replicate it quite quickly before it becomes just too much of a time hassle for cross hatching. And ironically, I really like cross hatching on my iPad as opposed to real life, whereas stippling on my iPad is it's really noisy because you're tapping this hard screen with your Apple Pencil, and this goes right here. It's let me replicate this for you. It's just like, can you imagine like trying to just, take a quick drawing break while you're studying and you're around other students and you just start so it's like it's not completely prohibitive, but it is something to consider. At least for me, I'm really kind of conscious about the noise I make when I'm in a quiet environment. But on the other hand, when I'm in one of the places I study, when the robotics meeting starts up, they make a lot of noise, and I'm like, okay, I don't have to be so quiet. Versus when I'm there in the middle of the day and most people are in class, and you like got a few people studying there, and it's just like, I need to be quiet. But I digress. Elephant. That's one of the main things I've been working on. I have also been working on an EP for my friend's band. No, EP cover. I'm not doing the EP. I'm doing the EP cover. And there's been progress, but I'm not into the coloring stage. Like here with this elephant and moon, I'm in like the shading stage. With the Orange Sunshine EP cover, I'm just in the line art stage. It's a forklift turning over some flowers because my friend doesn't like flower t-shirts, and I think it's hilarious. So it's like my, after this elephant, it's my next thing that I want to like put effort in to finish. Especially since I kind of need it done when the EP's done, but I don't know when the EP is being planned or completed. But anyways. Another thing I want to talk about. I got like a few more things I want to go over, and I have been carrying color pencils with me and a mixed media sketchbook with me to school every day. Every day that I don't, I regret it. But anyways, I drew some pencils. I drew some oranges as a sketch, but with blue color pencils, because isn't that hilarious? You're making some blues, not oranges. But anyways, it was actually really fun. I noted some areas that I could improve on while I was drawing, such as not burnishing on the second layer, especially with mixed media paper. It's thin and it was indented, and now it's all kind of wobbly, but now it's in my sketchbook where it belongs, like my official sketchbook. And so this next piece I'm working on, next sketch, is a peony flower, but I am only putting light color pencil layers on it and blending with rubbing alcohol when I'm at school or odorless mineral spirits when I'm at home. And actually, one thing I'm kind of considering, because I've had odorless mineral OMS for a while, but I haven't really used it until today, and I really like it. I have a lot to improve on in terms of it. Like, I think I've dumped a lot of OMS on my page, and I use too much, but it appears to just like dry up, and like you can kind of tell by looking at the other side of the page if it's like completely dry or not. But I really like how I can really blend out the strokes. I think another thing it helps with is that with Prismacolor, you can kind of get a upper limit of how much color pencil you can put on a page. But if you use OMS or rubbing alcohol, you're able to put more pencil on it and kind of just really push the layers. I remember using that technique with Wow, my waveforms look fucking crazy. Oh, wait, I clicked. Anyways, I remember using that technique with my biggest piece from my senior year of high school. I called it, its real name is Zillihu and Tabernacle, but I call it the Debate because Zillihu, I believe, is copyrighted because it's from Homestuck. But it's a color pencil piece, huge, lots of layers, and whenever I would get to like the upper limit where I felt like I was creasing the paper, well, it was mat board, when I felt like I was just creasing and indenting the mat board more than drawing on it, I would get rubbing alcohol. I actually filled up an empty Copic marker with rubbing alcohol and like kind of take the wax off with the rubbing alcohol, kind of wait a little bit for it to dry. It took like 2 seconds, and then I would continue on with my layers. And so with OMS, I feel like that just takes it further. I don't know for sure until I put it on some like illustration board or Bristol board, or I actually want to try working a color pencil piece on hot press watercolor paper like I know Lisa Lackery does, because up until this point I just do Bristol and whatnot, and so that's what I'm working on with the sketch. Like my oranges, I'm gonna try not to get too carried away in detail. I'm focusing mainly on having a light hand and using the reference photo as I did with the last one to determine my values, like what should be the light colors, what should be the darker colors. But I think once I have it all filled in and maybe add a little more dimension to the flower, I'll move on. That's my main thing with these sketches, is moving on. Like with the blues, my blue blood oranges, when I finished the orange slices, I decided I wasn't going to really fuss over the background because I kind of messed up putting brown on there. I should have kept it to just more blues and like the lemon yellow, the little lime neon yellow. I should have like kept it to that, and I just kind of, thought I'll just lightly shade the background and move on. I can't get stuck. I just gotta keep moving on and testing out new things, because it's not really, yes, I want to finish art, but the goal is to finish a technique that I want to work on. It's to find something to work on in the next sketch, because it's practice. They're studies, I guess, so to speak. I feel like there's a difference between a study and a sketch, but that's semantics. The last thing I want to talk about what I've been doing this semester, I'm taking a digital music class with my boyfriend, mainly to learn a new skill and learn how to use Logic Pro, because I bought it with the professional Apple software bundle that you get as a college kid. Didn't even check if I was a college kid. I guess they took my word for it. But anyways, I've made 2 tracks so far. I'm very amused by them because I've studied music theory when I was a kid, played piano, all that. I was in marching band through high school, but I've never really made my own music. I'm gonna have the first track I made playing in the background, and the second track I made I actually really like, so I'll give it its own spotlight. I'll have it play during something, I don't know, we used loops for the second project, so it kind of made things easier because I had this background to work on. And when it comes to music, it's repetition, it's arpeggios and scales. And one thing about the loops that I knew I was struggling with the first track, but didn't really rectify, but with the loops, I could keep to a key. So for the second track, I decided I was going to have the piece in A and F, versus my first track where I was kind of in B minor. No, not B minor, B flat. And I just pressed the keys on the keyboard, like the piano keyboard, and if it didn't sound wrong, I would keep it in. I was mainly really amused by being able to write drum pieces in a really, really fast, erratic, humanly impossible fashion. And I think that's all I want to say for this week. Next week, I am planning to have the Tyler video up. I need to sit my butt down and just put together the last few parts I need. I'm only a few pieces away from finishing the Tyler video, a portrait that I painted back in June. But I actually really like that portrait, so I want to have the video out anyways. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.